banking platform. JN Money.
JN Money Services USA Incorporated, a licensed money transmitter in Connecticut, District of Columbia, Maryland, New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania. License number FT 71415, Massachusetts.
Corner of Wickham Avenue in the Bronx. We specialize in the best Jamaican and American cuisine, serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We are open 24 hours, 7 days a week. We offer free in-house delivery, minimum $20 purchase, and we also have Uber Eats. We do barbecue Thursdays, fish fry Fridays, and seafood Saturdays. For more information, give us a call for our address and menu, 718-324-7484. Once again, that's 718-324-7484. Cooler Runnings Restaurant, simply the best Jamaican food.
It is the second Monday in the month of January. It is January 10, 2022. Monday, 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 Monday. Hello, everyone. How are you? Welcome to the show. I am your producer and presenter of Inside the Zone with Lady D, Denise Gomez. Inside of the Zone, the community platform where information is guaranteed. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's feature of the Monday Drive, keeping you in the know in the city you walk, drive, and reside. How are you? What's your name? What's your name? What's your name? Welcome, welcome. How was your weekend? I hope you had a great weekend. I had a good weekend. And here I am, safe and sound, and giving praise that I'm alive And I'm giving praise to God that you're also alive. Yep. So welcome everybody. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget the show is brought to you by Cooler Runnings Jamaican Restaurant, 1802 Narita Avenue in the Bronx. Have you stopped by lately? I hope you have. Because if you haven't, then you're going to have to talk to me. You're going to have to report to me. In this afternoon's programming, I start off with the Monday beat, chasing the Monday blues out of here. It is Ladies Music Monday. Ladies Music Monday. Voices comes right after, the intellectual voice that has everyone talking. Sidney Poitier's Academy Class of 2014. I'll give you as much as I can. May his soul rest in peace. Guess who's coming to dinner? A Jamaica Ting Food Sweetsa. Chilling with Grace Beauty. Of course, Yendi Phillips can cook, you know. Yes, I'll be featuring a little bit of that. Keeping you in the know with news, happenings, and facts. Of course, today we are having our year in review. Chris Wilby joins me at 6 p.m., 5:30 p.m. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's get the Monday beat underway. The show is right now being broadcast on signradio.net, CaribbeanVibesRadio.com. And this is your host station, Linkage Radio 104.5, 101.7 FM. Don't forget to log on to my YouTube channel, Inside of the Zone with Lady D, Denise Gomez. This past Saturday was great. I had Gifted Fingers Touching Lives, a gift, a calling, a purpose. And it was really nice. Garnet Walters, oh my God, I felt I was at Carnegie Hall. And if you missed it and you do have a smartphone and you're like, what is Lady D talking about? Log on to my YouTube channel, okay? Type in Gifted Fingers Touching Lives and you'll see the thumbnail with Garnet Walters. He was amazing. Let's start. If I should talk about Gifted Fingers, it would be endless. So welcome everyone. 914-600-4228, 914-600-4228. It is a good day. I know that many people are mourning today simply because we lost 19 people one time. What can go like that? Oh my God, but we'll be talking about that as well. So hello to you, and you, wherever you are. To my YouTubers, I'm stopping by in a minute to say hi to you. But of course, it's my Ladies Music Monday, and I do have one of my all-time favorites, Jamaican ladies. So I'm going to share a selection of hers to you. I'm putting my grammar in place here. Yeah. Hello, welcome. The voice of my girl, Marcia Griffiths.
Am I really hearing your lungs? Just like I dreamed it would be. I feel like we're frozen in time. Hey, I've looked all my life for you. is holding on to something real, something so meaningful. If you wanna know how I feel good. Baby, I feel good all over. You and I had one lover's dream. We're finally working out. Say no more. Your expression shows it. I see a little sunshine inside of you. Just to be with you. It's so exciting. Who would have thought it could happen to me? It's no secret we're in love. Even a little child can see. I feel good. Baby, I feel good all over. You and I have one of us dream. You know I've been many places. I've seen lots of things. Thought I knew just about everything there is to know. Yet you never cease to amaze me. The main reason I live is because you make me feel good. Baby, I feel good all over. When I think about all of the things you do to me, baby, I feel good. Baby, I feel good all over. The way you hold me and smile my way, I feel good. I feel good. You make me feel so good. That I feel
Yeah, I kicked off the Monday beat this evening with Marcia Griffiths, All My Life, and of course my girl Stephanie Mills with I Feel Good All Over. Good evening to everyone tuning in to the Monday Drive, keeping you in the know in the city you walk, drive, and reside. If you're joining me for the very first time, welcome to Inside the Zone with the Lady D, Denise Gomez. And today's feature is the Monday Drive. Of course, if you're on my YouTube channel, want to say hi, and don't be intimidated. Share my link with someone and say, hey, you see that word subscribe there? She has a good program. Check it out with me, won't you? So, hey, Sister Morrison, you kept your word. Nice to see you. And yes, we are so disheartened by the loss of lives in the fire. I'm not going to do that now, but I have something to say because I said it recently And, what has happened has happened. So I'd like to welcome everyone to the show. If you're all the way in the South, want to say hi. If you're here in the North, or you're in the Northeast, or you are someplace in the world and you're tuning in, want to say hello to you. Welcome. Our telephone number is 914-600-4228. Don't forget. And we're broadcasting on CaribbeanVibesRadio.com and SignRadio.net. This is Linkage Radio 104.5, 101.7 FM. I'm also broadcasting on my YouTube channel, Inside the Zone with the Lady D, Denise Gomez. Welcome, everyone. It's now time for me to give you a little taste out of the segment, or from the segment rather, Voices, the intellectual voice that has everyone talking. And the world is mourning the loss of that legendary, distinguished actor by the name of Sidney Poitier, I tell you. I love, no matter how many movies he has done, I love Guess Who's Coming to Dinner and To Sir with Love, my two favorite films of his. And so I'd like to share an interview that was done back in 2014 with him. And what I love about digital electronic media, though they are no longer with us and we are making posthumous recognition of them, it sounds like they're still here because their voice is still alive. You know what I mean? So welcome, everyone. Hey, YouTubers, how na do?
I was not looking to be an actor. I was not looking for opportunities. I had absolutely no interest at all in being an actor. I was a dishwasher. I was, at that point, content to be a dishwasher because I felt and understood and embraced the fact that I did not have the wherewithal to do much else. That I wanted to do more. Not only did I want to do more, I was preparing myself to do more. One of the preparations I decided was essential to my survival was I had to learn to read. I really had to learn to read. I could read third grade level, fourth grade level. As I told you, I left school at the age of 12 and a half. I then decided that I have to learn to read well. And I went about that process. And just that I knew was my goal. The reason was I realized that in New York there were many streets. Some were numbered, but not all. Some were named. And 3 syllables, I had great problems with pronouncing 3 syllables. And every word that had 3, 4 syllables in it, it staggered me. I mean, it just defeated me. So I decided that I had to learn to read better because all of the information necessary for my survival would come to me in words. And if I don't understand the words, I wouldn't know the message. And if I don't know the message, no one would have time for me. So that's what I did. I tried to learn to read. But anyway, the acting came totally as an accident. I was looking for a dishwashing job, and I could find a dishwashing job in a paper. It's an African-American paper called the Amsterdam News. And I would go to the want ad pages there, and it would list porters wanted, dishwashers wanted, maids wanted, whatever. And on this particular day, when I needed a job, and I looked into this paper, there was nothing there concerning dishwashing. So what I did was, I was about to fold it up and put it into the street bin, you know, the trash bin on the streets. And something caught my eye. And what caught my eye was a phrase. It said, actors wanted. Well, on the want ad page, it said dishwashers wanted, and this wanted, and porters wanted. And I figured, well, I can even manage some of those jobs. But what is this actor's job? That doesn't sound like it's too bad. So, and they're inviting me because they say actors wanted. So I decided, and there was an address there in the article. So I went, and I was just 10 blocks away. So I walked over to this place, and I went in, and no, I knocked on the door, and a guy came through the door, opened it. It was the basement of a library. I didn't know that at the point. And a guy opened the door. He's a massive, massive guy. I mean, huge guy, big, and you know. And he said, yes. I said, I came to see about Actors Wanted. He said, you're an actor? I said, yeah. He said, come on in. I went in, and he said, where have you acted before? I said, Florida. And he said, yeah? He said, you acted in Florida? I said, yeah. Anyway, he said, okay, here is this script. Turn to page 28. Read this scene. It's a page and a half. Go over it a couple of times, and then let me know when you're ready, and we'll read it together. I'll read the other part, and you'll read John. I said, okay. And I looked over it. I could hardly make out what the scene was. Anyway, he says, you ready? I said, yeah. And I stepped up on a little stage, but so big, it was maybe 12 feet, 15 feet wide, and 9 feet deep or something, you know. And he said, you ready? I said, yes. He says, okay, remember, you're on page 28. I said, yeah. He said, okay, you he said, you start. I said, okay. I started the line, my line. And now I'm reading like I read when I was in school. I am very slow, and I am very particular in trying to pronounce these 3-syllable words and 4-syllable words. As a result, I'm saying, when are you going to be at... Well, he came up on the stage, and he snatched that book out of my hand, and he said, he spun me around. He grabbed me here and here, and he's marching me to the door. And he's saying, get out of here and stop wasting people's time. He said, you can't read, you can hardly talk. I had this accent, you know. And he says, why don't you just go out? And he's marching me to the door. He's got my collar back here and my belt back here, and and he's really pissed. He's marching me to the door, and he said, just get out of here and stop wasting people's time. He opened the door, pushed me out, slammed the door. He said, why don't you go out and get yourself a job as a dishwasher? He said. Now, I'm walking down the street to go get a bus, go down Manhattan, toward the end, actually, where there were loads of employment agencies. And I suspected I would be able to get a job because I've gotten them there before. Halfway in the block between Lenox Avenue and 7th Avenue. And 7th Avenue is where I'll catch a bus or get the subway. I stopped dead in the middle of the street between the two. And I said to myself, how did he know that I was a dishwasher? He suspected. I said, I didn't tell him. I didn't say anything about dishwashing. That was one thing I wouldn't have told. And I realized then and there that what he said was his perception of my worth. He perceived me to be of no value beyond something that I could do with my hands. And while he was correct in his anger to characterize me that way, I was offended. I was offended deeply. And I said to myself, I have to rectify that. I have to show him that he was wrong about me. I decided then and there that this is a wild decision I made, of course, but I did decide then, at that moment, on that street, that I am going to be an actor just to show him that he was wrong about me. And then I would give up the acting because I'm not, what do I want to be an actor for? I committed myself to that. That goes to show you that I was a rather peculiar kid. Luckily, I wasn't around psychiatrists and all that kind of stuff, because they probably would have marked me as a guy who was a little off his rocker. He told me, among the things he said to me, he said, you can't talk, you can't speak, you can't read. No one ever said that to me before. And I always dreaded that someone would say that to me, because I really couldn't read well. And I really didn't speak terrifically. Certainly, my accent was Caribbean. So his complaints were dead on. But I had to now not push that aside. I had to then look at it and say, wait a minute, that's the me that he sees. Therefore, I have to assume the responsibility for either remaining that way or changing it. And to change it, for what purpose? I have to change it because I felt in myself that if I don't change it, I would be less the person that I perceive myself to be. I continued working as a dishwasher, and I learned that there were no other theatrical groups in Harlem at that time of the same caliber as was the American Negro Theater. And I decided that I wanted to, I learned that they had a school system where they taught acting and stuff. So I wanted to get in there. I also learned that there were some very prestigious black actors and actresses who were affiliated with it. So I set my sights there. And I learned that they had auditions every 3-6 months or so. So I decided that I would go there and take an audition. And I went in and asked if I could come in for an audition. I didn't see this huge, massive guy there, fearful that he would remember me and discount me. But I went there and they told me, yeah, you can come and have an audition at such and such a time. You know. Well, I did, but I didn't know where I would get a scene from. I didn't know that there were places you can go and buy little books of plays, and you can take a scene and study that and then use it as an audition. So what I did was I bought a True Confessions magazine. True Confessions magazines were for ladies. But listen, all I needed was to, so I selected the 2 paragraphs out of such a story. I memorized it best I could, and I was going to use it as a thing. The words that I didn't quite understand, I would learn about them. I would ask certain people that I got to know. So I understood what the words were. Mind you, my accent is still pretty poor. Long story short, I went in and I auditioned for them, and they said, thank you they said, we'll let you know. And they did indeed let me know. And the note came that I wasn't selected. I was crestfallen. So I couldn't give it up. So I went back to them. I walked in, and there was a lady at the kind of like the desk. And I said, I took an audition the other day, and I wasn't accepted. I said, however, I'm here today to ask if this is a possibility. And she said, what? I said, I noticed that you don't have a janitor. And I said, I will do the janitor work for you because it's not a big deal. You know, you have a fairly small place here and stuff. I will do the janitor work for you in exchange for letting me study here. And she looked at me in a peculiar way. She said, you would do that? I said, yes, I would do that. And she said, well, I'll talk to them about it. I said, I'll come back in a couple of days. I went back in a couple of 3 days, and I could tell that she didn't really tell them. I said, she said, oh, yeah. She said, well, she said, excuse me a minute. She goes into the back with in the office, I suppose. And then she stays there a while, and she comes out with a guy, and he says, what is this you do? He didn't know me from the other thing. This is, he's seeing me for the first time. And I said, yes. He said, you would do that? I said, yes, I would do that. He said, why would you do that? I said, because I want to learn. I want to learn. And he said, I see. He says, where are you from? And I told him, any experience? No. Well, they let me in. They let me in, and I started studying. Then they kicked me out because I didn't show much possibilities. And then I was rescued by my fellow students in the classes that I was in, because they got to like me. They thought I was a little crazy guy, but they got to like me. And when they told me, when the authorities said to me that you won't be coming back because you didn't show any possibilities, my friends, on their own accord, not mine, I had nothing to do with it, but they kind of liked me. And a committee of them, like 3 of them, went to see the head person. And they said that we understand that Sydney is not going to be coming back, and so-and-so. And we just wondered, we know that you're going to be doing a student production. And we figure that since he worked so hard to try to be acceptable, we wondered if maybe you could give him a walk-on. Maybe you can just walk across the stage once. And the person said, well, she, it was a she, said to the friends in my class, because she recognized that they were doing it out of kind of, they had developed some kind of feeling for me. And she said, I'll think about it. And when they went back to her, she said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll make him an understudy for someone. And she said to me, I'll let you understudy the guy who's going to play the part. Now, she had no intentions of me ever.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. I would have sat and listened. I've seen a few interviews with Sydney, but I'm telling you, this one, there's one particular thing in here, in just a few, maybe a minute ago, that he said that has literally jerked me. I tell you. And we'll talk about that. So, Voices, the intellectual voice that has everyone talking. This is just my way of paying homage to a very talented actor who has now transitioned to the other side, the late Sidney Poitier. And I believe I have online with me, let me see the telephone number, of course, it's him, Chris Wilby of Caribbean Vibes Radio Network.
Another legend.
I
Good
tell
afternoon, Lady D.
Sure, we all come out with an opening line.
Another legend.
I tell you.
That will be written about and spoken about
Yes, he was.
after my transition.
I tell you, he was so amazing. I mean, he was not smart, had learning challenges, speech impediment, but his friends advocated for him, even for them to give him a little walk on in a production that the school was doing, just to let him walk across the stage. Perhaps he wouldn't have to say a word. And the lady said, okay, let me see. He could understudy a part. I tell you, you see how people can believe in you, even when you perhaps don't even believe in yourself. But after a while, he started to change the way he saw himself. And the things that people said about him. Sydney's early beginning was not easy. Not easy. Yeah. And when you see people have reached a level in their career and, you even want to give them a hard time that they are rich. How dare you be so rich?
Yeah.
Or, just live your life not knowing that it is well deserved because I worked hard for it. That's amazing. Welcome, Mr. Wilby. It's so nice to hear you. We were just here yesterday. That's won't fire me by saying that,
Yeah. You'll probably go have to just do a record of that.
Yes,
and just play it whenever we come on.
Absolutely, sir. Something like that. So it's a pleasure having you again, Chris. Welcome, everyone. Guess what we're doing? Reviewing the year 2021. I mean, the thousands of headlines that have been produced in the year 2021. Chris and I would never be able. We're talking about globally. Can you imagine if they were to give us the stats of how many headlines across the board, whether it's in the Associated Press or some publication, written publications and so on, across the world, people who are doing their own blogs and all that. Can you imagine? We would be astounded.
Millions.
Yeah, we would be astounded, I tell you. So, welcome again, Chris Wilby, and to everyone tuning in. It's our pleasure to welcome you to Keeping You in the Know with news, happenings, and facts from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. With me online is
Chris Wilby from Caribbean Vibes Radio Network.
And my name is Denise Lady D. Gomez, host of the show Inside the Zone with Lady D. Stay with us. Don't go anywhere. We're starting in...
Looking back at some of the most significant news articles of 2021. This is Keeping You in the Know 2021 Year in Review. Here are your hosts, Chris Wilby and Lady D, Denise Gomez.
Well, there you have it. Voiceover knocked me off my chair.
My lips are sealed.
When I got it, I'm like, one your mask, Chris. Sounds good, Chris. You know me, I have to go drop in something right there. So, welcome everyone. It's a good day here. Chris, I know we're accustomed to having you start off, but I would like us to acknowledge the fact that, or not even acknowledge, but to read the headline concerning the fire that took place here in the Bronx that has
Oh,
claimed
absolutely. Yes.
the
Yes.
19 lives. So, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to keeping you in the know with news, happenings, and facts. You are privileged and entitled to give us a call at 914 600 4228 and to share your comments as we go through the headlines, and we welcome your full participation. Starting off with a malfunctioning electric space heater in a bedroom was the source of an apartment building fire Sunday in the Bronx that killed 17 people, including 8 children, and making it one of the worst fires in the city's history, New York Mayor Eric Adams said Monday. Adams revised the death toll Monday down from 19, saying it was an evolving situation. A CNN review of local hospitals showed that at least 8 patients are still hospitalized in relation to the fire, while at least 25 people have been treated and released. Now, the building's fire alarms and a series of open doors are on the radar of investigators and officials probing the second major deadly fire in a week in the Northeast. The Bronx blaze was deemed the second most deadly U.S. home fire in nearly 40 years by the National Fire Protection Association. The NFPA also reported that heating equipment is the second leading cause of U.S. home fires and the third leading cause of home fire deaths and injuries. Quote, "This is a horrific, painful moment for the city of New York, and the impact of this fire is going to really bring a level of just pain and despair in our city," unquote, Adams said Sunday. Many of those in the building were Muslim immigrants from the West African nation of Gambia. The country's ambassador told CNN the building had been a beloved home for many such immigrants over the years. Quote, "I think a lot of Gambians who came here, they stayed there before they moved anywhere else. This was kind of a first port of call. This building, it's a building Gambians have a lot of attachment to," unquote, said Ambassador Dauda Doka Fadera, who traveled from Washington to New York after learning of the fire. The Red Cross has provided emergency housing to 22 families, representing 56 adults and 25 children, the group said in a statement. The 5-alarm fire began shortly before 11 a.m. Eastern Time and first consumed the bedroom, then the entire duplex apartment on the second and third floors of the 19-story building, Nigro said. The heat was on in the building. This, the space heater, was being used to supplement the building heat. There were smoke alarms throughout the building. The first call that came in was due to a neighbor hearing the smoke alarm and looking and seeing the smoke and calling, unquote, he said. When residents left the fire unit, the apartment door was left open, allowing the blaze to spread, Niagara said. The fire was contained to that hallway, but the smoke traveled upwards and took over much of the building. The doors were supposed to close automatically, but the apartment door, as well as the door from the stairwell to the 15th floor, were not functioning properly. Niagara said Monday, quote, "The smoke spread throughout the building, thus the tremendous loss of life and other people fighting for their lives right now in hospitals all over the Bronx," unquote, he said. So we are investigating where everyone was found, how the smoke traveled, but certainly the marshals have determined through physical evidence and through first-hand accounts by the residents that this fire started in the bedroom, in a portable electric heater. About 200 members of the FDNY responded to the fire at 333 East 181st Street, the agency said. Units arrived at the scene within 3 minutes of getting an emergency call. Nyquist said they found victims on every floor in stairways. He said many of them in cardiac and respiratory arrest. Quote, "It was a very difficult job for our members. Their air tanks contained a certain amount of air. They ran out of air, many of our members, and they continued working to try to get as many people out as they could," he said. And the article continues, and many people are aware of this fire, and we find it such tremendous loss and very heartbreaking, because recently I was encouraging people that I know some of us don't have heat. There are people who have no heat. They live in buildings that if you go into some of these buildings, Chris, you would wonder, how can I live here? Who would live here? But because of circumstances, people have found themselves in. They have no choice. They would rather live like everybody else do, who have modern amenities, all the all the light and the water and everything. But in this instance, here you have a group of people who they nestle together and look out for each other, but there's no heat. And I often say to people that while you may keep your, just the other day I mentioned it here on this station, that while you may not have heat and you use your oven, you keep your oven open, or you put on something on the stovetop, or you're using portable heaters, you have to still manage it because they will overheat and cause electrical challenges resulting in fatalities.
Yeah,
And this is so, so, so sad. And now, we are reactionary beings. People will be complaining. They're calling supervisors. They're calling this and that for years. And some of these buildings are not maintained. They just say, whatever, you all over there, we'll talk to you at another time. And then it's now that the city is going to be aggressively going after these people, dealing with these things, all because we had to wait until something traumatic as this has happened.
Yeah, it's a very, very sad situation, Lady D, and unfortunately, this is how the world works. This is how governments works. They wait until there is a tragedy, and then everybody start to react. Instead of being proactive, people are reactive. But it's very, very unfortunate. And my condolences goes out to the family members of those who died.
Yes, we express that. All right, we move on to, and of course, this will be a part of our discussion. So, this being our first headline, you may continue. There is one other thing. So, you know how we do, we'll alternate, but there's something interesting I saw also in a press briefing that Prime Minister Andrew Holness alluded to in a very emotional way today concerning the Akampong community and their high expectations and what the government will not meet, pretty much. So, you may go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon again, Lady D, and good afternoon to all the listeners. And we are going to try to do our year in review as we look back at 2021. 2021 was a very consequential year for a lot of people, and it has changed a lot of things. So we're going to take a look back and just to remember some of the things that happened starting in January 2021. In January, Joe Biden was inaugurated as our 46th president of the United States. swearing in. Himself was sworn in, and Kamala Harris. This happened just 2 weeks after supporters of former President Trump stormed the U.S. Capitol in an attempt to overturn the results of the 2020 elections. They did.
Mm-hmm. All right, and I
When
also continue. Go ahead.
yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I'm just gonna read an article here that was written back then. Um, it says when Joe Biden raises his hand to take the oath of office, he will replace a president better known for raising his fist at his inauguration and on January 6th. Biden will soon stand on the same steps that his predecessor turned into a crime scene. Capitol, Capitol halls, once filled with school children in backpacks, are now filled with the Begovovich bunting replaced by barricades, parades with plywood. No amount of American flags will be able to cleanse the memory of its use in the attack. She said, I think the sense that many Americans have had since the beginning of the pandemic that we are living through an unprecedented crisis has already exploded into something even bigger, said Harvard professor Jill Lepore. She uses the word unprecedented carefully. Author of a sweeping account of America, These Truths, A History of the United States, she has a historian's slow pulse, but she says the word fits our times. I think a comparison would be 9/11, which in many ways is a very different political moment and an entirely different instance of violence, the poor told 60 Minutes correspondent John Dickerson. It's essentially an act of war, but I think at that time Americans understood that something profoundly had changed. I think we will remember the 6th of January in that same way, that it is a day when everything changed, when the unthinkable became possible in the United States.
And I take you to remembering the legacies of those we lost in 2021 in Jamaica. And I start off with Gordon Butch Stewart. The genesis of the year brought news of the passing of business mogul Gordon Butch Stewart, a stalwart of the tourism industry and founder of the Sandals Group, the Jamaica Observer, and the ATL Group. Stewart passed away in Miami on January 4 after ailing for some time. He will be remembered as a champion for the Caribbean who made an indelible impact through his innovative contributions to the region's image and economy.
And we go to Maraj, Harry Maraj, past president of the Shipping Association of Jamaica and chairman of Lanneman and Morris Group of Companies, played an incisive role in the transformation of the country's shipping industry. His success include being the founding manager of the Ocho Rios cruise shipping terminal for 40 years, contributing to the certification of the Port of Kingston at international standards and transforming Kingston Wharves Limited into one of the top performers of the Jamaica Stock Exchange. He died on January 3rd.
Gerald Layla, hailed as one of the country's foremost scientists. Professor Gerald Layla passed away on August 22 at the age of 90. The decorated environmental and nuclear scientist not only made significant contributions to his field, he also served as director of the Gleaner since 1990 and honorary chairman from 2005 to 2014. RGR Gleaner Communications Group Chairman Joseph Matalan described Layla as a deep thinker whose contributions to the company is dwarfed only by his scientific contributions to Jamaica and the world.
Edith Allwood Anderson. A lot of people would have heard about her. in public life, a firebrand nurse and a champion for the trade union movement. Former president of the Nurses Association of Jamaica, Edith Allwood Anderson, blazed a legacy characterized by fierce advocacy at the negotiating table. Allwood Anderson, who was the longest serving president of the NAJ, spearheaded several protests to gain improved salaries and benefits for nurses. Allwood Anderson, who died on September 16, will be remembered for her 35 years of serving the nursing fraternity.
And in October, reputed gang leader Christopher Dogpaw Linton was shot and killed by police on Monday afternoon. Senior Superintendent of Police Stephanie Lindsay, head of the Constabulary Communication Unit, confirmed the shooting. Quote, the police got reports that there was a car traveling around in Elletson Flats with armed men. The police accosted them. The men opened fire at the police, who returned fire. Dogpaw was shot and killed. His body was discovered in the car, and an illegal firearm was also retrieved. Linton, who was in 2013 sentenced to 15 years in prison on charges of shooting with intent and illegal possession of firearm, was freed earlier this year after his conviction was quashed in the Court of Appeal. His co-accused, Micah Allen, who was similarly charged and sentenced, was also freed in the High Court. In June, Linton was hospitalized after being shot by gunmen in the Cane River area of Bull Bay, St. Andrew.
And Lady D, we lost a lot of legends in the musical fraternity. Bonnie Whaler, Uwerton Daddy U. Roy Beckford, Robbie Shakespeare, Garth Dennis, Karen Smith, Lee Scratch Perry are some of the legends that we lost in 2021. Bonnie Whaler, the passing of Bonnie Whaler represents the end of an era as the reggae icon and final member of the Whalers made his transition on March 2nd. Bonnie Whaler, whose given name was Neville Livingston, outlived his fellow musicians Bob Marley and Peter Tosh by more than 3 decades. He was a 3-time Grammy Award winning, with hit songs included Cool Runnings, Ballroom Floor, Crucial, and Bald Head Jesus.
And we take you to live clips previously aired via the Star in Jamaica as well as TVJ News, starting off with Felissa Prussia announcing, remember that little girl, 9-year-old, who was found
from out of St. Thomas.
Out of St. Thomas.
Feel good right now. I can't explain so much, but I'm a friend. I couldn't the whole way down don't reach us. I'm yes, I'm a wire. So I say I go push out hard effort this day and yesterday. And when I find him yesterday, I'll find him today.
And as you well know, our Jamaicans, whenever they come together, there's always something that happens. That was the manhunt that went out for 9-year-old Felissa Prussia. Taking you also to another headline. Interesting, we need our money. Courtesy of TVJ News in Jamaica.
In a rare moment, the streets of downtown Kingston were flooded with police officers who were not at work, but instead came out to make a statement about their disgruntlement with the court process. They also gained support from citizens. Jamila Maitland has the details.
Not even the pelting sun, rain, or even their colleagues on duty, trying to maintain social distancing measures, could prevent the scores of police officers from dispersing the streets of downtown Kingston Thursday. This as the hearing into the settlement of the overtime wages was underway in court. Clad in black and a touch of red, police officers crowded the steps of the Supreme Court, hoisting placards and chanting, "We need our money." They're protesting against what they describe as the long overdue overtime wage settlement between the Police Federation and the government.
What we do? Fed up! What we do? Fed up! We want money! We want money! That is all to us!
The crowd caused an unusual traffic pileup at some intervals, which was made worse by curious motorists and passers-by. Others recorded the police officers, citing that they'd never seen protests by the country's law enforcers.
I come down to the liquor shopping and I just buck up on the crowd and I'm asking what is going on. And I saw somebody saying that it's the police officers them out here talking about their pay from the government. And I agree with them.
This Central Kingston resident says she's been following the reports and described the impasse as embarrassing on the part of the government.
I am 100% behind the police. The JCF deserve, if they will ask the Air Force One, they are supposed to get it immediately with effect. They work very hard, and they have them family, and they have to risk them life. With these gun boys, that's not easy. They forget anything where them ask for. You see how much real we gone with? Eh?
And even though the settlement was not reached Thursday, the officers are hopeful that an agreement will be reached come December 16.
We fed up with our house for Christmas too. And if we don't get to the Christmas, please give us a reasonable offer so we can take care of our family.
Jamila Maitland, TVJ News.
Okay, so that, oh Lord, alrighty, so that was the fact that the police, they were placarding to get their money. Okay, Mr. Wilby, do you have something else before I go to another clip?
No, continue with the clip.
Okay, all right, we now take you to the big one.
Welcome back to Primetime News and a special welcome to the viewers on onespotmedia.com. Up first this evening, the police say they prevented a potential mass killing of women and children at a cult-like organization near Albion Heights in Montego Bay, St. James last evening. 2 members of the church were killed during a ritual at the Pathways International Restoration Ministries of Montego Bay. Now the leader of the group as well as a policewoman are in custody. Hours after the bizarre incident at this church in Montego Bay, St. James, a tour led by Police Commissioner Major General Anthony Anderson and National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang, 3 people died as a result of the drama that unfolded. 2 of them church members who were killed in a ritual. A 3rd congregant was killed when a police team stormed the church after coming under gunfire. 3 other persons have been hospitalized. The police commissioner said a congregant who escaped after being injured alerted the police to the events taking place at the church.
On responding to that report from the person who was injured and coming here, the first teams of police that arrived were shot at, and so they waited on reinforcements to come. We were very concerned that some form of ritualized killing was going to take place here, and so we did an entry last night. We found that there were a couple of people who had been injured by other members of the church.
The commissioner said over 100 people were inside the building, including 14 children and 31 women. A policewoman is also a member of the church. The police commissioner was asked if she also participated in the shootings at the church.
We don't know that for certain, but there was a policewoman here, and we are processing that as well.
Do you have any knowledge of any other members of the security forces that's a member of this congregation?
We're aware of a couple other people who may be a member of the congregation based on what we're seeing inside.
The policewoman as well as the leader of the group were taken into custody. As for the children,
the courts actually are sitting, the courts open today actually 10 o'clock. We have the CPFSA there and the other services, child services and so on, to determine what should happen with those children and perhaps some of the other vulnerable people in the group.
We have individuals who can, in fact, influence people. And those are the ones who, when they are brought to the attention of security forces, have to monitor. Because, as indicated by the commissioner, if the police are not to intervene last night, and in a sense it was an act of good fortune when the lady who was injured came to the police and the police rescued the scene. We could have had far more serious incident last night.
We heard reports that church members were told to get on the ark at the church. Ark here refers to the ship built by Noah in the Bible to save his family and two of every kind of animal from a flood. A police source told our correspondent that several animals were seen at the back of the church.
Recap of 2021 right here on Inside the Zone with Lady D, Denise Gomez. It's keeping you in the know with news happenings and facts. Chris Welby was very instrumental in bringing you the clips that you're hearing this afternoon. There are so many things that have happened in Jamaica. People have embezzled monies from corporations. Ministers of government have fallen to their greed and have had to demit office. Their portfolio slashed. So many things have happened across the world, as Chris read in his headline. You know, people were also assessing former Prime Minister of the United States of America, his performance as well. Many will say that he performed admirably, and many will say that he was hard, callous, crude. What say you? What are some of the headlines that you recall that rocked your world in 2021? Of course, the coronavirus, right, Chris?
Oh, absolutely.
Was one that we are still dealing with even today. And
yeah, I can personally attest to that.
Right, because you contracted it. There's someone I know who contracted it recently too, but what I observed was that she only had some mild pains in her limbs, and she had a slight fever, and in a few days it was gone. So my takeaway from that was it's because so many people have now been vaccinated. It's like the flu. We get the flu and we get the cold over and over. And many of us have had to take the flu shot repeatedly, but you still get it. And there are people who have died from the flu. The statistics will tell you that here in the US. So now that we are vaccinated against the virus, even if we get it again, because people thought that fine, you get this vaccination, Chris, and you'll just go happily along your way. You won't get it. But you can get it a second time. But what will the impact and implications be on your physical body, your inner organs? And so, for many of them, I have not contracted it, but for many of them, now it's like a slap on the wrist. They feel better and they're gone again. And yet there are those who are not vaccinated, still refuse to be vaccinated, right? And
yeah,
I don't bother have conversation with you. You say you're not getting vaccinated. I don't trouble you at all.
Yeah, it has reached a stage now, Lady D, that it doesn't make sense you try to, because everybody has made up their mind one way or the other. It's either you're anti-vax or you are pro-vax, you know. So to get into a debate at this point is futile. It doesn't make sense.
Any sense.
You know, you'll be wasting your breath and just getting into arguments with people unnecessarily.
I agree.
So, yeah, so that's where we're at right now. People If you want to take the vaccination, you go take it. If not, I mean, the rest is up to you. And that is one of the things that the Prime Minister was alluding to recently. He said that he's not going to be locking down the country anymore. He's not going to be having any days on and days off and all of that because the country cannot afford it. It is now up to people to protect themselves, get vaccinated. Their health is in their hands. And I could not agree with him more.
The same here. The lines are open, 914-600-4228. We brought you some major headlines that had everyone talking in 2021. You may call us at 914-600-4228, 914-600-4228. Let's hear from you. And while we await your call, Chris, this popped out courtesy of PBCJ in Jamaica, dated January 9.
Apologies to those who have follow-up questions. I do note that Janet has her hand up again for follow-up questions and those who are still in queue to ask questions, but we did allot an hour. And so the final question will go to Mr. Andre Wright, the editor at The Gleaner. Andre?
Yes, pleasant good morning, Mr. Holness. Did the government seek legal advice on its decision to disengage with so-called sovereign maroons? And would the government not be derelict in refusing to finance projects in any such territories? And the companion question is whether the government finds it embarrassing that it seems that different arms of the state, that's the police and ODPEM, as we found out, gave approval to the hosting of the Maroon celebrations.
Your question is based on a very dangerous premise. And I said earlier that there are some threats that the average citizen looking on might think it is innocuous, it is popular, and take a liking to it. Because the discussions that are held in places that should know better does not highlight the threat. Jamaica is a unitary, sovereign state. There is no other sovereign authority in Jamaica other than the government of Jamaica. I want that to be absolutely clear. None. And under my leadership, not 1 inch of Jamaica will come under any other sovereign authority. What you are asking would be another for the government of Jamaica to fund, take taxpayers' money and grant funds to fund another government. This is not a government saying they are a local government, a parish council government, which is under our constitution. Are you crazy? Really? Do you know what you're asking? This is the stuff of how guerrilla wars come and states break down. Wake up, Jamaica. Don't court foolishness and problems. Wake up. People have died as a result. And you expect me to stand there as Prime Minister and fund activities that could lead to the breakdown of our state? Never. Thank you.
That was the voice of the Prime Minister, Andrew Holness. And he was done. He was done with them and left the podium.
Yep. I think he's beginning to find his voice. Finally, we're hearing some passion in the Prime Minister's voice. Recently, I heard him at one of the, I think it was a breakfast, a prayer breakfast or something, where he made some statements, profound statements. And as a leader, your statement matters, your words matter, your emotions matter.
You cannot allow people to believe that you are, especially in a country like Jamaica, you need a leader who is tough. You need a leader who is going to show that he is not afraid to confront the threats that is being posed to the government and the country. You know, it's about time, you know, and I say kudos to the Prime Minister.
Yeah, he has to
It's
speak
about
up
time.
and take a stand.
Yes.
He has to take a stand. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we await your calls, 914-600-4228. Do you have any follow-up comments to the articles that we read this evening? And also, what headline you recall stood out for you in 2021? Give us a call, 914-600-4228. Let's hear the phone lines blazing, 914-600-4228. We're now in day 10 of 2022, and headlines have already started to be out. We had the fire here in the Bronx. Lives have been lost. And it is traumatic enough. And so many other things are taking place. When we think of the missing children in Jamaica, we say to ourselves, you know, let me go to the phone line. Let's take 914-664-8528 first.
Yes. Good evening, Lady D and Mr. Welby.
Happy New Year,
Hello there.
Yam lady.
Happy New Year, Mr. Welby.
Where have you been?
She MIA on
Well,
us.
you know, sometimes you have to be somewhere where you don't tell.
Okay.
Okay,
Of course.
All right.
I agree with you, Yam lady.
Yes,
Don't say a
ma'am.
word. Keep moving. How are you? We're glad to hear you.
I am fine. I just came in and I heard the Prime Minister talking. Explain, let me know what he was talking about, because, you know, I like the Air Jamaica Labrish. What was that he was pertaining to what he was saying there, what I listened, because I was there preparing something for dinner. Dinner while, but I missed what I heard.
Out. Okay. So there was they were going to be having a celebration in a compound town, the Maroons. And so, you know, the Maroon community, they are of the view that they are their own people. They have their own policies, their own polity. They are a self-governing group of people.
Yes.
Right? And in the past, they have wanted the Jamaican government to acknowledge them as such. They've even wanted to have their own currency, which to date they cannot even prove how the currency would actually work in the system.
I remember. Remember that,
right? Whatever it was called. And so now they wanted to have their celebrations, and they wanted to ask the Prime Minister to approve some amount of funding for them, which would mean him being in agreement and somewhat of a collusion, not monetarily this time, in quote unquote. In other words, if he decided to say, oh, yes, man, these people are having, you know, their gathering and so on, give them $1 billion Jamaican dollars. What he's saying is that in a time as now, when you have the pandemic at its peak, he would be contributing to people getting sick and all of that. And so everybody need to not ask him anything. He's not doing anything. He's not granting anything. Leave them over there.
that's a very interesting argument there because my opinion is, if he funded the Maroons for them to have celibacy, why not refunding all the hospitals that are in deplorable and need equipment and all those things out there, Lady D, and even the police. Raise the police salary and let them feel like they are living so we can be secured when we walk on the street.
Okay.
That is my opinion because I pay big tax out there, Lady D.
Yes, ma'am.
Whole tax. You know, and I don't see what we're getting from it. The roads are deplorable, so why would he? No, Lady D. I heard him venting, but I didn't get.
Okay.
I heard the conversation there about what they're in a compound, what they want to do, and whatever. But you know, only by the wayside. You know, this one call and they would be telling you something, and that, you know. But now I get it from the horse's mouth. I know exactly what the conversation is all about.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's that. But he took his position, and I agree with him.
That one I agree with.
And good to hear you.
If he was going to fund the hospitals and the police, then we would be in good hands.
All right. So that's,
you know, and then
that
then
they
we,
already have on, you know, in November, they were, you know, picketing for increased in salary. And I'm sure that was like their last resort. Right, Chris? For police officers and leaders in the hierarchy to go out there and go plead to get more money. That means that the talks had broken down. Nobody could come to a decision. So they took that position to go and advocate and say, pay us more money. We do have another caller, 2142.
Yes, Lady D.
Yes, sir. How are you, Eddie F?
I'm good, and you? Hi, Chris. How are you?
Good.
I am all right, Eddie. How are you? I'm good. Lady D, I am a hard believer in Thomas. The fire yesterday, I'm hoping it was not stopped in bed, smoking in bed. Because you have a lot of people get paid and they are not capable of doing certain things. Like the expert, when things happen, they go and say what they feel like saying. But I'm hoping it was not smoking in bed, lady.
No, sir. They said it was a heater. One of those portable
That is what I'm
heaters.
saying, Lady D. When a building go up in flame, sometimes you cannot go near to tell you what the cause, and people just guess.
No,
Take for instance,
Ed, man.
Take for instance,
Eddie.
Take for instance, you're driving a car and the airbag deployed, and you head on with a truck and it caught fire. Nobody would know that it was the airbag went off, you know. Nobody knows that, but people come and say what they know.
But then
and again, the fire, that fire, there was one greater than that a couple of years ago when Mayor Dinkins was in power. Over 100 people died on there.
Well, you know,
that was
remember,
more like a jealousy.
We've had fires. I mean, you remember the fire that was in the club here in the Bronx?
That's what I'm saying. Over 100 died.
Over 100 died, right?
Happy Time, I think it named.
Yes, we remember having had to say to people, why would you want to go into a place that you barely can find an exit? And all
but
of
people
you
not paying attention.
bundle up into one space. We take another call. Good evening. How are you? Welcome.
Pleasant good evening to you, Lady D and Chris, and to all the listeners.
Good evening.
How are you?
Hi, Pat.
Hi, Pat.
I'm
We're
all right.
good.
Okay, wonderful. I am just going to say it's very touching, you know, when I hear about the fire yesterday and the children, the lives that were lost. And moreover, there was a fire in Philadelphia where lives were lost too, you know. And it is just so heartrending to hear what's actually taking place. You see, I believe that those high buildings, from time to time, the fire department should give, like a teaching lesson on fire prevention and security. Because even though we know ahead of time what we should do, when the actual fire breaks out, some people panic. I was talking to a friend of mine, and she told me on Saturday she had like a small fire on her floor, and she left her apartment. She's a senior now. Left her apartment, came outside and knocking on doors and telling people, fire, fire. That shouldn't be, because the first thing one has to do when they suspect smoke is to call 911 and let them know where you are, and where they can find you, where the building is. But people panic. And of course, we have to realize whenever there is a fire, you have to keep the quarters closed. Once you leave the door or the window open, oxygen is going to come in, and that's what's going to feed the fire.
That's it. They always tell you,
Fire
don't open the
doesn't
doors.
kill people. It's the smoke that kills people. And so the moment you suspect, you smell that smoke, you just with a towel and you put it at the door, to prevent that smoke from coming in. And you must notify 911. It's very, very important. Now, the fire department, they responded in record time. In 3 minutes, they were there. But the fact of the matter is, it was more than they could tolerate. Now, people get these space heaters. I'm not going to condemn anyone from getting one, but my thing is, you cannot plug the heater and other things in the same outlet. It's too much. It's going to overheat, and that's apparently what happened. You can't have the TV plugged in the same socket, and forget about those electrical, cords, that P extension cords. Nobody uses those anymore. If you're going to get an extension, you get one that turns on or off. The moment, there is a malfunction, it will turn itself off.
Or you plug it into a strip.
From this fire, we're going to learn a whole lot, and people will be educated. I asked my pastor, to because we have 2 firemen in our church, if they could come on Zoom and give us an in-service to educate us as to the safety, what we should do, the pros and the cons. And that's what we do. We educate each other. We uplift each other in a situation, in a time like this. Because, trying to go over, what actually happened, we have no control over that, but we can move ahead. So this is a teaching lesson for us.
All right, thank you. Here's another caller. Good evening. How are you?
Thank you, Lady D.
Thank you, Pat. Welcome to our new caller. How are you?
Queen.
Yes, King.
Hello, Prince. How you doing?
Me there. How you do?
Well, now complaining I could have worse.
Okay, I hear you, Bob.
Well, Sister P, I can give 1,000,001 briefing on that fire thing. Number one, make sure you have at least a pound of flour at all time ready to go. Know where your blankets are ready to go with water and blankets. Don't open no window, no door, no nothing. Have a proper registered fire extinguisher all time. From I live in any apartment in this country, I never out of a fire extinguisher.
That's good advice. Good advice.
Please,
Ryan.
everyone, a fire extinguisher, you get
That's
it at
true.
home. Depot, it's there for as much as you can afford. It's there. It's very, very important. Always have at least a pound of flour. It quenches any fire. From the grease fire in your kitchen to the fire that is in the bed, that is whosoever think they want to go sleep with a cigarette. And I would encourage anybody, do not buy space heater if they're not gadgeted properly by the state. Do not buy them. People intend to go out and buy these $20 space heater. And I guarantee you, if it's a space heater, it's not a properly gadgeted space heater cost that fire.
Well, at $20, a cousin of mine would say you get what you pay for. But even so, we agree with you because not many people are educated, as Pat alluded to, on fire prevention. Many people are not, and a lot of people live in buildings and so on. And over the years, we have heard of the atrocities that have occurred because of fire. And so here is a typical example. But I know that this one has shaken them to the core, shaken them because now they're embarrassed and they need to go deal with the families of people who have died as a result of this. And all those
Lady D?
supervisors that are out there that people can't reach, or they're just not responsive. They're not engaging with the residents who are living in these buildings. How you can have people supervising and you're a no-show. You know how many times we watch the news? If it's not fire, somebody's roof is caving in. Water dripping for how long and nobody has come. And they think that, them soon get to, And so people are setting pans and, oh, God.
Lady D, I can tell you that's a germs in this country. I can testify to that. It's a germs and a bad infectious germs in this country. It has to cause devastation, and it's like forever the governing body likes drama. They love casualty. They love drama. It has to be dramatic, and they have to blame somebody, and they have to point fingers at somebody, and all of them are guilty because they are the same set of dogs with the same set of flea. All of them. In the workplace is the same thing, Lady D. I'm telling you, in the workplace is the same thing. So it's a bad, infectious germs of this country. Everything has to cause casualty, and the same set of dog comes out backing after each other.
Mm-hmm.
And they are the same mackerel in the same barrel. No better. No better. I am a witness to that. There's a part in the laundry in this building that I'm living in, Lady D. And from I got here, there's a water leak at the same spot. And they overhaul the laundry. And the water leak is still there. And I said to myself and a lady the other day, somebody gonna have a senior citizen gonna have to fall here, break a hip, and die here, and a $10 million lawsuit is gonna have to happen before they fix anything. It's a disgusting situation of this country, Lady D.
Mm-hmm.
And what gets me so wind up is when kids die. Because then you're killing out my future, so me have no future.
Yeah.
Me not have no nurse, me not have no doctor, me not have no president, me not have no lawyer, me not have no, when you kill my kids. And you kill 8 one time.
Mm-hmm. We hear you, Ryan.
And all of them gonna come out on a big show and come tell what them gonna do. To hell with what you're gonna do now. 17 life has just been lost. Yeah. And I don't want your pity.
We hear you, Ryan. It's true. And these things could have been prevented had they provided the people with heat.
I encourage anybody, go to Home Depot, get a fire extinguisher, go on YouTube. There is so much little clips on how to use them. Learn to use them. Make your protection your own responsibility. Do not depend on this government nor the fire department.
Mm-hmm.
Please, I'm encouraging anyone. Always have a pound of flour in your kitchen for the oil that is going to spill and the fire going to start. That flour kill it in a second. All these things I learned through my hotel fire preventive.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're on the top of the hour, 7 o'clock. Thank you, Ryan. Yeah. Enjoy your evening.
Remember to dark your way home.
I shall.
Thank you, Ryan. I hear your passion coming through.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you, Ryan. All righty. So thanks to everyone who called in. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. This has been our Year in Review segment here on Keeping You in the Know with news, happenings, and facts. Mr. Wilby, we wrap up now.
This has been the Year in Review. Lady D. Thank you once again. I know, I get that chuckle out of you.
I know.
Thank you very much once again for hosting. Very informative segment as usual. Looking forward to being back here next week. but we'll do it all over again. But more news, happenings, and facts.
Absolutely. Have yourself a great evening, Chris Welby.
God bless.
Blessings to you. Thank you for tuning in with us this evening from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., keeping you in the know. And of course, this has been the Monday Drive right here on Linkage Radio 104.5, 101.7 FM. I look forward to being back on Thursday. It's going to be good. Be good, everyone. And as you know, they used to dock me home. And as Ryan just reminded me, I need to dock myself home. Thanks to Cooler Runnings Jamaican Restaurant for just sticking with me. I appreciate you so much, Soji. And all those of you who sat back, relaxed, and simply listened to the show, we appreciate you. As always, love yourselves, love your children, and remember in everything you do, it is the will of God concerning your life. A lot of love and blessings, everyone. I'm out of here.
Music for your listening pleasure.